The NDA government has been harping on the need for a robust MSME sector in India, arguing that it's the space that will create entrepreneurs, and with job creation being one of the main concerns for the government this year, budget is also expected to lay a lot of emphasis on the sector. But how effective have the earlier incentives been? And more importantly, what do these very entrepreneurs want from the budget? Joining me now to talk about this and a whole lot of more here in our studio is Mr. Vishal Kamath, Chairman and Managing Director of Kamath Hotels, and S. Swaminathan of Iris, and also Ketan Kant of Filtra Consultants. Also from Delhi is Harshad Thakkar of Ashapura Intimate Fashions. Welcome all of you, gentlemen. Mr. Kamath, I'll begin with you. What do you really expect from this budget? You know, there are lots of hopes that small industries can do a lot for job creation, and that is likely to be the priority.
Looking at how the trends are in what the government has been doing to the build-up of this budget, whether it is the Railway Mantri trying to introduce more luxury trains, or whether the government trying to introduce even more ease of doing business for visas and other things, I think tourism is definitely on their mind, and we expect as a sector that there will be definitely quite a bit of tourist-related impetuses given in this budget. That is one of the things we feel. Otherwise, the complaints or the pain points we have as an industry have been common. 2015 we were declared an industry, but the criterias were so beyond the reach of the common businessman that only if the government wanted 5 stars. So basically the industry status was given to 200 crores and above. But what happened is that if you are asking to make a 200 crore hotel, it has to be a 5-star. And then on the other hand, in GST, you are asking 28% as a sin tax or a luxury tax. So they are going in the 28% bracket. So somewhere there is a conflict in the minds of the government where what impetus they are giving and what they are actually doing. I think in this budget, hopefully they will address all these things.
That's really interesting. I mean, when it comes to incentives, you have to be above 200 crores. But when you have to be penalized, I mean, as a luxury, to be qualified as a luxury product, you don't have to be that big.
Yeah, and
what's the hurdle, if at all, there? I mean, how big hotels pay that tax? Everyone does.
As the government's vision is one nation, one tax, and one sector, one tax, neither is that happening in our industry, nor does the science look very positive in that. The amendments that have come have been so common and so often that, example, earlier the GST was having an input tax credit, but the rate of interest was 12% and 18%. Now suddenly for most of the restaurateurs other than 5-star hotels, they have made it at only 5%, but no input tax credit. So now what has happened is, because of this, a lot of extra, like most of the restaurateurs today are new restaurateurs. They've opened in malls, they've opened in office complexes. So when they are paying an 18% GST, okay, it was earlier a set-off. Now suddenly that set-off has gone and it's become a burden of 18% because there's no ITC. So like this, there are many teething problems which the government still hasn't overcome, and I think they need to relook at our industry not as a goose that lays golden eggs, not to make money, enjoy from the benefits of the egg. Don't go after the goose.
Okay, so that's about indirect tax, which is actually, interestingly, not a part of the budget, because this budget onwards, because of GST, thankfully there won't be many changes.
My main point was on the industry part.
The way incentive structure is. Yeah. So what do you really expect? You expect that threshold to come down?
One would be that the threshold come down, that the criteria be more friendly to encourage mid-range businessmen, maybe not the small if you don't want fine, but make it something whereby, something like a 40 to 50 crore, which today one hotel requires. Today it requires 30 to 40 lakhs minimum for a good budget hotel to be made. When you look at all the compliances and other things all put together. So if you want in small B-town cities, good hotels to come up, infrastructure at tourist spots, then 30 crores to 40 crores minimum is what your hotel is going to cost you. So such projects should come under infrastructure. That would help our industry. Then there are many other points also which I can take up later on.
Correct. But just one point I would like to understand, when you say 5-star and then below, to what extent, in terms of number of domestic tourists or the foreign tourists who get served by the 200 crore plus hotels, and those who get served by those below 200 crore?
Sir, we should just go and see a state like Goa. In Goa, you find a backpack traveler, foreigner also, who is wanting to stay in 200 rupees. Even Indian guest doesn't want to stay in 200 rupees. But he is having the enjoyment because he's come as a backpack traveler. He wants to see India. He's staying here for 45 days. Then you have a luxury tourist who doesn't mind spending whatever he wishes to spend. So I think tourism does not have any classification. Tourism has only an experience. And based on that experience, if the government has a one flat, regardless of what experience you want to have, you pay the tax. You want to spend 10,000, you pay tax accordingly. But the slab should be one, because there are many other problems also in having this, which confuses the consumer. And the consumer then has to also be a CA in his mind to understand what he's going to pay where and how is he going to affect his pocket.
Okay, so the core issue here is incentive, right? Incentive to achieve the right goals. Swami, what's your view here?
Firstly, thank you for having me. It's good to be here. You know, for what we do, and you look at the new generation of entrepreneurs, they basically are creating products that are competitive for the world. And that's what we do. 80% of what we do is for the world at large. We don't do much in India. So the only signal we look for is on the macroeconomy. So if there is one signal one looks for from the budget, is the impact on the economy itself and how the rupee vis-a-vis the dollar will actually move. And I think every one of us has been hurt by the fact that the rupee has appreciated.
So expensive rupee is a negative incentive, so to say,
hurts us.
For everyone who is exporting.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
And there is no counterbalancing, say, relief coming to any of the exporting sectors.
You know, on the one side, if you can't talk about being competitive. On the other side, you can't ask for RBI intervention to keep it in a certain manner. I think at a certain level, exports have become uncompetitive. It's really a call that one needs to take in terms of how to do things. And if there's one signal that I'm looking for is how the macroeconomic balance will actually play itself out. And to that extent, if the fisc goes out of sync, you'll actually see a situation where it may have an adverse impact on the rupee. That's about the only signal that we look for in the whole budget. As far as incentives go, I mean, we sell globally, we are competitive globally, and we dominate the market globally, and we're very happy with that. So we have no interest in seeking incentives as far as the budget is concerned.
So you are basically into services sector, which is again, you know, a lot of technology intensive, so to say. Do you think a manufacturing company would be suffering more than the pain to a service company?
You know, this is contradicting. We don't do services. We do products.
Okay.
We make products in India for the world at large.
Okay.
So in that sense, we are like any other company, quite literally. We're not a services company. It's not a staffing or an IT services kind of an operation.
Correct.
So are we affected? Absolutely yes. So we spend in rupee, we earn in dollars. When you earn in dollars, and for every dollar you get less rupee, and on the one side you have wage bills going up, the margin narrows.
That's true. Mr. Kant, you are into manufacturing. Now, how is the picture there? Because what we have been told, you know, the last 12, 13 months of disruptions that we have seen is good for the longer term, but we have been told that the manufacturing segment has been worst hit, especially if you are in the mid to small segment.
The manufacturing segment is hit mainly because of capital. Is the major concern. The frequency at which the payment is to be made for GST every month and the incoming payment is after 3 months. So its only thing is a small short-term problem where some additional finance is required. If the SME gets additional finance, additional capital at a lower rate of interest than the bigger players or the big brothers, then it won't be a much problem for SME to grow. So the maximum the job employment happens by SME in India today.
So we do hear of several schemes. We have a small industries development bank actually, and there is a Mudra which has now started funding entrepreneurs.
That is for two lesser, it's not going to everybody in the SME. Very few companies knows about these incentives, availability of finance. Secondly, there's a difference between listed SME and unlisted SMEs. Now unlisted SMEs, the trust level is less by all the capital banks or NFBC or other finance companies to give. So there some training part or some regulation is required, some effort is required on the government front to ensure that the non-listed entities also gets finance easily from this thing to survive. Secondly, the incentive has to be there. See, for example, a company who performs better and if he has to pay higher tax, then the motivation goes down. See, at a larger scale, a large cap company having 3,000, 4,000 crore and they make a profit and they pay higher tax is fine. For smaller company, government should try giving incentive. More profit you make, you pay some less tax. because lot of other things are being taken care of when the company progresses, when
But
company
usually
grows.
you pay proportionate tax. So you
Proportionate, something lower, because then motivation is not there. See what happens if a SME player is
are
making
you
X
actually-
amount of money and he is happy with that amount, then he said, why should I take headache of growing?
So
See, from
are you
25%
saying-
is tax who is paying, and suppose if he grows and he has to pay 30% tax,
Okay.
then he said, why to take the extra effort? If I grow more, I have to pay more tax.
So
There is
we're
more
basically talking
compliance.
about the provisions of last budget,
Budget,
whereby the smaller companies with a turnover of
50 CR.
less than 50 crore
Has to pay
25%.
Now that is very less amount. 50 CR makes the company very small. Any SME company who is listed, 200 CR is the minimum turnover or minimum potential which they have. So this tax structure has to be up to 200 CR SME.
Okay, so basically when you grow, you pay more.
Yeah.
So it's better to stay small. That is how companies used to talk, earlier when we had the SME reservation.
Yeah.
If you grow, you cannot really become a big company in those segments those products that were reserved for smaller companies. Now, of course, the list is almost down to nil. So all these various companies have actually grown and become big and even got listed. Some of the names that used to be small scale companies when we were young in school. Okay, let's go to Mr. Thakkar.
Let me just add to something he said.
Yeah.
One of the most undersold stories of GST is going to be the explosion of credit.
Okay.
If you actually see what's happening around us, banks don't trust the numbers given by companies to them. As a consequence, when small borrowers go to borrow from banks, they basically want the data verified. The moment you make a GST filing and you actually pay taxes on it, the bank starts believing that statement. In fact, there are 5-6 banks today offering platforms to do GST filings so that they can get the data and then finance those SMEs. So the most undersold story of GST is the possible explosion in bank credit. So the question that he talked about a little while ago is going to be addressed very, very well by this whole GST thing. So I just hope in the course of doing this, the story gets out.
So let's just speak to Mr. Harshad Thakkar of Ashapura Intimate Fashion, because I think textile was the industry that was really dead against GST and all the compliance and filing requirements. Harshad, what's your view on this? Are more players coming into the formal setup of industry? Are more people getting registered? Will there be more credible financials going forward and easily available credit like what Mr. Swaminathan is suggesting?
See, apparel and textile आफ्टर फार्मिंग सबसे ज़्यादा जॉब क्रिएशन वाली कैटेगरी है. मेरे हिसाब से 3 चीज़ें रिक्वायर्ड हैं. सबसे फर्स्ट थिंग है, उसको किसी भी कैटेगरी को आपको जोन वाइज जाना पड़ेगा. जैसे अगर आप चाइना को स्टडी करें और उसकी अगर apparel ग्रोथ को देखें तो हर कैटेगरी का एक जोन है. अगर आप किसी सिटी में जाते हैं और अगर वहाँ सॉक्स जोन है तो आपको वहाँ पे सॉक्स के रिलेटेड सारी इंडस्ट्री मिलेगी. अगर कोई लॉन्जरी जोन है, कोई अंडरगारमेंट्स जोन है, तो ये इस तरीके से अगर गवर्नमेंट उस व्यू पे अगर देखे तो उसमें बहुत कुछ ज़्यादा करने की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगी और हम एक अच्छा ग्रोथ देख सकते हैं. इससे प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट बहुत नीचे जाएगी. नंबर 1. नंबर 2, आई थिंक मुझे कुछ वॉइस ऑडियो प्रॉब्लम दिख रहा है. हेलो,
हमें आपकी आवाज़ आ रही है
जी. नंबर 1. नंबर अच्छा, ओके, यहाँ पे कुछ रेंज की प्रॉब्लम है. एंड सेकेंड चीज़ है कि आपको प्रॉपर लेबर रिफॉर्म लाना पड़ेगा जो दोनों की फेवर में हो. एक तो लेबर के फेवर में हो जहाँ उनकी मिनिमम पेज हैं वो थोड़े और ठीक होने चाहिए, और दूसरा आपको कंपटीशन पे परखना पड़ेगा लेबर को भी कि अगर कोई काम की क्वालिटी और उनको अगर कोई काम में प्रॉब्लम है उनको रिमूव करने के पावर्स भी होने चाहिए. अगर इस तरीके से आप देखते हैं तो चीज़ें और ठीक हो सकती हैं. एंड थर्ड चीज़ और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट जो मुझे लगता है कि बैंकिंग रिफॉर्म बहुत ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि आज भी हम उसी पैटर्न पे चल रहे हैं. बैंकिंग में वर्किंग कैपिटल साइकिल को एसेस करने का तरीका लास्ट 30 साल से या 50 साल से चेंज नहीं हुआ, जो कि एकदम ही रॉन्ग है. बिजनेसेस सारे चेंज हो गए हैं. किसी बिजनेस में हो सकता है 1 महीने की साइकिल हो, किसी में 5 महीने की, 6 महीने की भी साइकिल हो सकती है. तो वो जो चीज़ें हैं, अगर ये 3 रिफॉर्म होते हैं हमारी इंडस्ट्री के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से, एक तो आप जोन क्रिएट करें, इससे प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट नीचे जाएगी. लेबर रिफॉर्म लाएं, उससे क्वालिटी इंप्रूव होगी और प्रोडक्शन फास्ट होगा. एंड थर्ड, रिक्वायरमेंट के हिसाब से फंडिंग हो. तो ये 3 चीजें अगर होती हैं तो इंडिया कॉटन प्रोड्यूस करने वाली कंट्री है और बहुत कुछ इसमें हो सकता है.
ये बैंकिंग में जो आपने मुद्दा उठाया हर्षद में, अगर इसको थोड़ा सा डिटेल में बताएं कि किस तरह की दिक्कत है वर्किंग कैपिटल साइकिल को लेके.
अभी तक हम एक स्टैंडर्डाइज फार्मूला पे चल रहे हैं। अगर बैंकर किसी लिमिट को एसेस करता है, जनरली 99% ऐसा होता है कि आपका जो भी टर्नओवर है उसका 1/5 यानी आप 5 राउंड साल के टर्नओवर का वो आपकी बैंकिंग लिमिट होती है, जो एकदम तरीके से रॉन्ग है। बहुत अगर ऐसे बिजनेस हैं जो सीजनल साइकिल में, अगर कोई विंटर बनाता है तो उसका तो साल का एक ही सीजन होगा बट उसका प्रॉफिट बहुत बड़ा होगा, तो उसको उस तरीके से फ्रीली एसेस करना चाहिए। ये कोई ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई रिस्ट्रिक्शन है, बट जो कन्वेंस एक धारा से अलग चल के कन्वेंस करना एक सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज है। तो बैंकिंग ऐसी होनी चाहिए जैसे नीड हो कस्टमर की। अल्टीमेटली इसमें बैंकर को भी फायदा है। अगर आप सही तरीके से एसेस करते हैं लिमिट को, तो बहुत ही फायदा बैंकर को भी होगा और कस्टमर को भी होगा।
बिल्कुल।
To address one very important point which I think many people from many sectors are facing, especially the entertainment and hospitality industry, along with actually various manufacturing industries also. Sir, we all started a business at any particular point of time based on certain government assurances that there are waivers in VAT, service tax, local taxes, maybe electricity incentives and all that. But what has happened is after GST coming in, like in the hospitality space also, we were given certain breaks to become viable. Otherwise, it was not viable in those certain zones to put up these projects, but because we've taken the risk, because the government assured us of the benefits of the taxes, we have done it. Now what has happened after GST coming in, those have gone away, whether it is luxury tax waiver, entertainment tax waiver. There are a case like example, a cinema company recently went to court to fight for that, and there are various other people also who are willing to go, entertainment industries, amusement park industries, hospitality industry players. Now rather than all of us address this issue in court, it would be most appropriate for the finance department to address this and give us what they've already promised, so that it is over, it's over. We know in future it's not there. So as a prudent businessman, I will plan and do it if I afford it. But if the government has said that, look, you can't afford it, here's how I make you viable, then it's their duty to give it to us. So this is also something which I think the finance department needs to address for all the industry stakeholders.
So there used to be this ad hocism.
Yes.
Now with GST coming
Both
in,
central and state.
Okay.
It was not just only central incentives, or it was not only state incentives. There were many incentives given on both central and state. So considering that the GST is 50-50, so whatever the state has promised, maybe they give us set off from that 9% or that 6% or that whatever percentage, and if it's a central, then you give it from your 9% or 6% and accordingly give us our due till that much amount. That's also another demand which many people have from across the industries, not only the hospitality.
Has this overall compliance become a big burden?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Compliance is definitely a big burden. Specifically understanding, even the CS don't understand the compliance.
Is it
The
only because
systems
of
are
GST or even outside?
Because of GST. Outside was
Because of GST.
long rule. Every few months the rules are changing, new amendments are coming. It's tough for any industry to understand the compliance part and comply to it.
So almost every company today has become a tech company. Why? Because as soon as you have an issue, you have to go to IT guy, say, "Abhi ye integration karo." Then Gazette comes, "Abhi ye integration karo."
He's the expert.
Sir, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, in this man, every company, small or big, has now suddenly had a much bigger IT company, and having people who are working in SAP and this and that more in demand. ERP software platforms, because linkage. Kuch bhi hua to linkage. Whenever I ask my guy, "What is this?" He's like, "Sir, linkage problem." So I think I'm taking it very lightly. But
Mr. Swaminathan, since you are an economist turned journalist turned entrepreneur, I mean, this is the entire global ranking of ease of doing business, that dramatically our ranking has improved. Does not that take into account all this?
Let me.
There's two different points.
After you.
No, sir.
After you.
Sorry, that ease of doing business is something else, because that as a businessman I do agree the government is trying to reduce a lot of licenses, which is ease of doing business. What you asked the question of the GST and all, I think that's, sir, on the technical front which I mentioned.
Compliance is actually a part of it, right?
Compliance
Let
is
me
also a part, yeah.
address the question slightly differently. Do we want better data for policy making? I think we do. Have we had a country where people were fudging numbers in the past, which basically kills the possibility of good policy intervention? The answer is yes. Does every reform process come with some pain? No, you and I have seen enough reforms in the last so many years. It comes with a certain amount of pain. I think the thing that we make a living out of compliance, and therefore at one level we're very happy that compliance is moving in a certain direction. I think the quality of data that's now coming into the system will allow meaningful interventions. And I think the process of transition is almost like that of a caterpillar moving to a butterfly. And the caterpillar goes blind before it becomes a butterfly. When it goes blind, I'm sure the caterpillar is going through terror. But the point is, at the end of the day, when you do the transformation, when you morph into a butterfly, something beautiful comes out. The government over the last so many months has shown a willingness to learn. And I think that's what needs to be complemented. Are we all facing difficulty? The answer is yes. Is the government only to blame? The vendor is also to blame. The government is to blame. So many others are to blame. Companies themselves are to blame. Companies keep thinking that it will get postponed, and therefore they all want to do it at the last minute. Do we want a better country? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. And in the course of doing that, are we improving the system? I believe so. And I think all the bank issue that you talked about, the issue that the gentleman talked about from Delhi, I think with good quality data, you will see a lending uptake of a kind we have never seen in this country. You know, Goa credit deposit ratio is about 32, 33%. It's a very important state for tourism. Service sector is underserved by credit. When you have good sales data, banks will line up to fund them. You will see an explosion in credit just on account of the good quality data that's coming out. Just wait and watch. Mark my words.
Okay. And I think the most rampant underreporting probably happened in textile sector. We'll speak to Harshad Thakkar about it. Harshad, what do you really think? Is the company or are the companies, the smaller companies, actually able to kind of change their systems and processes, and most importantly, have they been able to take a decision that they have to report everything, almost everything now? Are they coming to terms with the new regime?
या मुझे नहीं लगता इसमें कोई बहुत बड़ी डिफ़िकल्टी है. आई थिंक राइट, बहुत ज़्यादा कम अलग अलग तरीके के टैक्स थे. मैं अभी थोड़ा सा इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स जीएसटी पे जाऊंगा. आज हमें ये पेन लग रहा है क्योंकि हमारे लिए नया है, बट मुझे लगता है बहुत ईजी है. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि एक ही दो ही टैक्स आपके कंट्री में रह गए ऑलमोस्ट, और वो बहुत ही ईजी है. और छोटी कंपनी हो, आज देखिए छोटा आप किसको बोलेंगे? अगर आप ये समझते हैं कि सारी कंपनियां 1.5 करोड़ के नीचे हैं, वो छोटे बड़े, वो एक कैटेगराइज होना चाहिए, तो मुझे नहीं लगता. बल्कि आपका काम कम हुआ है. अंडरस्टैंडिंग थोड़ी और डेफिनेट, थोड़े कुछ एरर्स हैं जो डाउन द लाइन ठीक हो जाएंगे. जब भी कोई आप नया सिस्टम, आप जब आपका घर रिनोवेट करते हो तो आपको 2-3 महीना बाहर रहना पड़ता है. ये तो देश रिनोवेट हो रहा है, तो थोड़ी बहुत चीज़ें डेफिनेट हैं, बट मुझे लगता है कि बहुत ही ईजी हैं. ऐसा कोई बहुत बड़ा टास्क नहीं है कि जिसको लेके कोई कुछ ना कर पाए.
Okay. Mr. Kant, the point that Harshad was making earlier, about creating special economic zones or something like that. So we earlier had export processing zones, then we have had several, other avatars, and then we have SEZs, and there are some more, such concepts.
Still continuing, and they have,
so we also have
better lower tax is almost 1% now.
So, I mean, have all these really worked? Because we always hear this China example. But to what extent?
This has worked. SEZ has always worked. Now also it is working, because for them input credit is almost 1%, not the 18%. So their finance is well taken care of. Instead of paying tax and claiming back from government, it is done at the first stage itself. So that is excellent. See, GST itself is a very good concept. If it implements properly, then it's a fantastic. It will take India ahead.
Correct. That was the compliance issue. Now we are basically talking about growth and what kind of incentives or models do we really need. So if you go to Gujarat, for example, you'll hear about the textile hub at Morbi or at Surat. Or, you have tile companies which are mostly Morbi or Rajkot and nearby areas. That kind of an initiative, can it really come from the government? Have we been able to do it?
Government has done in certain part, but they have to go a long way. This type of special economic zone helps a lot. See, buyer knows where to go. He don't have to search. If somebody wants a textile, he can go to Surat and get from the entire industry, and everything is close by available, or ancillaries are available. So cost of production goes down, labor is available, material is available, finance is available, and industry works in a particular scenario, particular pattern. So data is also available with banks and financiers when they go and meet there. It's easier to do.
Sir, we keep mentioning on incentives and what incentives government will give us. I think that's not necessarily what we as businessmen are looking for. What actually a good businessman looks for is robust infrastructure. Whether it's light, water, power, safety, security. Today, if my staff is not free to come from his home to work safely, that's part and parcel of infrastructure. So as a nation, today, I don't think, really speaking, we as entrepreneurs have expected that much from the government as compared to, basic things. And I must must tell you that as a businessman, I'm very happy to say that improvement in power has been there. In the last few years, there have been lesser load sheddings, there have been lesser erratic surges, even in general, so many other things which the government has been doing. So definitely on a macro level, there is improvement, and as a hospitality and hotel restaurant association, all of us have seen that kind of change. The point I was making was that infrastructure focus is more important than trying to over-regulate our industry. What happens is our industry is very easy to be targeted, because any issue that happens, like as one gentleman, one of our learned persons said, oh, people should have portion control. Boss, who is to decide how much you can eat or I can eat? So I think sometimes the government's over-regulation on trying to macro manage my stomach is wrong. I think if they just give us a broader picture in terms of a canvas, that look, I've given you all this, now you show your entrepreneurial skills and do it. Whether the zone is there or not there, if I have the capacity and if there is a demand, I'll put it in that zone. Correct. Just because the government has said either ye zone hai, why should I go there? There should be some core fundamentals, and that is what? Infrastructure. Beyond that, it's my business call. But government, one of the things which I find many times is over-regulation in our business, and this is also something that tinkers on the budget and doesn't, because every department gives their own inputs, and this is something which I think the government needs to seriously address. There is a lack of confidence in the long-term comfort of entrepreneurs in our industry. Liquor ban, suddenly one fine day, overnight, people who have put up scores of restaurants, hotels have suddenly, and see the beauty of our industry. One of the biggest reasons why this government, I think, is looking at tourism and hospitality is because it doesn't matter how much you are educated. You have to have only two things in our industry. One is a right attitude, because the aptitude is taught by the restaurant and hotel itself.
So has that ad hocism and the kind of surprises you're talking about, has it gone up of late over the last 4 years, or has it gone down?
See, government has tried in various budgets giving labor skill incentives. Okay, like again, that's why I was the skill incentive points, like this Make in India, under that they had these various NSDC skill programs and all that. But those programs have not necessarily materialized, because business has to be able to absorb those people. And when will business absorb those people? If we thrive, if we flourish, and if every time somebody comes and presses our neck, it's not going to happen.
Correct. So let's try and sum it up now. First of all, with Harshit, the key priority area for government is growth and job creation. One key thing that you would expect finance minister to do in this budget that will boost both these, especially through smaller industries?
Labor reform. I think labor reform was the key thing. Because in this, अगर आप उसको देखें तो आज बहुत एक तरफ हम बोलते हैं कि हमारे पास जॉब, लोगों के पास जॉब नहीं है, और आप कभी ग्राउंड रियलिटी चेक करें कि लोग नहीं मिल रहे, तो ये अपने आप में बहुत बड़ा कॉन्ट्रास्ट है. अगर आप डेटाबेस पे जाएं और अगर लेबर पॉलिसी को अगर आप बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से बनाएं तो सारे डेटा अपने आप ठीक होंगे. और मैं समझता हूं एज अ बिजनेसमैन, जो मैं ग्राउंड पे देखता हूं, आज सबसे बड़ी चैलेंज है आपके पास राइट टैलेंट आए, और मैन पावर सबसे बड़ी चैलेंज है. और एक तरफ हम बोलते हैं कि हमारे पास हमको जॉब क्रिएट करना है, लोगों के पास जॉब नहीं है. ये अपने आप में बहुत बड़ा कॉन्ट्रास्ट.
ओके, मिस्टर कांत.
Labor reform is definitely important.
ये भी बोलूंगा कि 2 tier 3 tier
individual SMEs basically government is trying to micromanage by too many this thing, so that is definitely irritating and uncomfortable. For data at micromanagement level is not required for government to bring any reforms or any policies.
Okay, last word. What do you think will create jobs?
I think if they have a consistent vision towards making sure that we are a credible India. Before we have the tag Incredible India, but first we need a credible India to be where we are today. Safety, like I said, tourists coming to our country, infrastructure. Today when we go abroad and we go to other countries and we see how easy it is to go from one destination to another, whether it is local transport or whether it is private transport, then stay, all kinds of stay. Boss, I'm not only here to advocate for 4 stars, 5 stars and all fancy hotels, right from a budget to a thing. So I think a holistic and a consistent nature, and stop micromanaging this industry. It will take care of itself. It's a very fragmented one, so it can never be monopolized. So don't try to unnecessarily do micromanagement.
Don't micromanage. And
may I add one small thing?
Please.
What will create jobs? When your channel goes live, it will create jobs, because the whole ancillary system that will get created will create jobs. So hope you go live soon.
Thank you so much. So everything, all the new initiatives, every new business creates many jobs directly and indirectly. But what our most experts believe in is that don't do this and that every year. Rather create a credible environment, consistent policies, and don't make too many changes. Don't tinker with the rules. I think that's already happened with indirect tax, with GST. More so in policy framework and direct tax regime is what industry is expecting for. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for taking time out and joining us in this discussion. Thank you. Thank you.